Hi, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. First and foremost, Happy New Year. Thank you for being here tonight. We currently have a pretty small and very familiar group, so some of the more general items on the agenda we won't spend too much time on, but of course, if there's anything anyone wants to talk about, please feel free to bring that up. Our member at large, David, just joined, so the first thing we'll do is just reminders, please stay muted unless you're actually speaking, just so we don't have any background noise. As far as membership goes, I would remind all of you to renew your memberships, but everyone here has done that. So we're good to go on those. Beyond that, meet the board, just in case there's anyone who isn't familiar with all of us. Jess, I'm the president. We have Lauren Larrick, she is our vice president. Eric Stegmiller, our treasurer. Lena Grzewski, our secretary. And welcome David Hoyt, our new member at large. So thanks for being here, everyone. We will jump in. Eric, are you ready to do a year-end report?
Yes, I am. If you want to start with the balance sheet.
Yes, let me pull that up. Sorry, I've apparently forgotten how to use Zoom in the last month, so one moment.
I've been having to shake the cobwebs off all week, so.
All right, let's go ahead and get that shared. And balance sheet, right, Eric?
Yeah, let's start there.
Okay.
Excellent. So as you can see, we've got roughly $2,600 in the checking account. Savings account still has a little over $17,000, and petty cash remains unchanged. I would call out here the big difference from the prior month or November. The last time that I presented a report is that we did get additional funds from the community art fund fundraiser that we did through Facebook back earlier in the fall as part of the summer fun days activities that wasn't able to be installed because we ran out of good weather days, but that did increase. So that's really about the only change on the balance sheet. Any questions on this? Okay, then we can move over down to the income statement. So this being the year-end report, I did include the full detail income statement. So you can see in memberships, we did not still have any of the business memberships. However, we did have a total of a little over $2,200 for residential. You can see the breakout there. Under donations, the personal donations is largely through all the like online fundraisers that we've been doing. You can see Kroger and Amazon, and then the miscellaneous donations are some of the concerted effort drives that we've had, like the Southwood Elementary School fundraiser, the scholarships, etc. Grant funding, there was $1,000 that we I need to make a correction on that. That was actually supposed to be that was reversed. Yeah. Okay. So we had a bank correction, and so that's where that is fine. I went back. They ran the scholarship check twice, so that's the correction there. The yard sale, that's for both the spring and the autumn yard sale registration fees. Merchandise was largely, I think it was mostly the t-shirts this year. We did go ahead and clean out some of the additional merchandise that we had from last year's summer fun days. There's a few things left over, so you can see there for that a little bit of interest income for a total income of a little over $11,000. Moving into the expenses, we have our typical rent and utility expenses that are pretty much the same every year. Same with financial expenses for insurance, And then taxes. The taxes, actually, we don't pay taxes. That's actually a charitable organization registration fee that the state of Ohio makes us pay. So we just code it as taxes since it's pretty much required by the state. Miscellaneous supplies. This is largely the artwork that we had to pay. That's the mural on the over on Moral. I can't remember the name of the place where we put it up, but anyways, it's at 4th and Wanderlust Studios. Yes, thank you. So 1537 of that was for the the 1400 of that was for the to print that mural. And then there was some miscellaneous stuff in there. We got a new fire extinguisher for the info center. We reimbursed the Merion Green litter cleanup crew. Or I guess I should say, we funded some bottles of water and pizza and stuff for them for one of their events. The advertising and promotion. This was actually another 2020 carryover expense from the 2020 Fun Days printing that we did. So there was we printed off some sandwich boards and some signs and posters and stuff, and so that's what that was for. The technology, we had the accounting software, the board, Microsoft subscriptions, our web hosting, email servers, things like that. So that's what all that boiled at. Zoom membership, or a subscription, etc. The civic contributions, this is 1546 of this, so about 99% of it was for the payout to Southwood Elementary for that fundraiser. And then we also had, I think, a $20 donation to Ganther's Place, how sweet it is event that they have. And then rounding us out, the other expense was for this year's, let me make sure I got this right. I coded them differently so I could tell them apart. And yeah, so the miscellaneous expense, other expense, was this year's scholarship recipient, and then the grant expense was last year's, because it took us quite a bit of time to actually be able to get in contact and to issue the checks to last year's winners. And so that's what the difference between those two are. And we had to upgrade or invest in some additional yard sale signs. So that's what the yard sale expenses are for. So that brings us for a total of around $17,000 in expenses, which is a net loss of about $6,600. Now, because we had so many 2020 carryover expenses, we had a roughly around 5,600 carryover expenses that were really from 2020. So if you back those out, we only had a net loss of $979, which is one of the better years that we've had since I've been on the board. Also, then if you factor in a couple multi-year expenses that we had, like the yard sale signs, and some of our technology subscriptions are for multi-years as well. So it actually comes down to even lower than that. So overall, and considering we didn't have a festival as our largest, fundraiser or garden tour, I think, it speaks for itself pretty good. Any questions on either the balance sheet or the income statement?
Question: did you say what the what miscellaneous donation was? There was like a pretty large, like $4,500 under donations.
Miscellaneous donations. Yes. So this was, we had two Facebook fundraisers that we did. One was for the Southwood Elementary School, and that brought in around $22,000. And then the balance of that is, so that would be about $3,000 was for the scholarship fundraiser. So that's where both of those what was in that category. Great question. Any other questions? All right, Jess, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, as always. All right, so we will move on pretty quickly here to the next item. I want to just kind of start the conversation on this next topic, and if anybody has anything to offer, please jump in. Otherwise, this is kind of the conversation I think we're going to have over the next few months. So if you've been here for a while, you know that we've had conversations before about our info center on South 4th Street, where, of course, prior to the pandemic, we would host our monthly meetings there. Some committees would use the space. The space is available to members who want to use it, and to non-members for rental. We, of course, have events there on occasion. And obviously, over the last couple of years, we have not had an opportunity to use the space in that way quite as much. It's primarily acted as the storage location for all of the things the association owns, whether that's the supplies for the festival, and those are plentiful, or the various yard signs for events. We do have quite a bit of storage in that facility. And then, of course, the space is open upstairs if folks do use it. So over the next few months, we want to open that conversation again. We've had a couple of members bring up the info center and ask, why we continue to rent the space. We do pay $400 a month for the space, and we pay, Eric, would you say $75 on average is correct for utilities? I know they kind of vary.
Yeah, 75 is usually is pretty good, but our rent is 5.
Oh, I'm sorry, 400. I'm thinking years past. Our rent is $500 a month.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the situation where that is now. We, of course, also receive our mail at that location, and so forth. So the conversation is, since members have brought that up and whether or not we should continue to rent that space, we want to make sure people are aware that that's a conversation we are definitely open to having, and certainly can. If folks did feel that we should move toward moving away from that, we would hold a formal vote for the membership. We'd let everyone know a month ahead of time and hold a vote on whether or not to do that. Just some things to note. I did mention the rent is $500 a month. We've been very fortunate to have the rent for that space, even at the $500 a month, just because, of course, everyone knows rent prices, especially in our area, are certainly not that low. We do have a fairly good relationship with the landlord, so that has been beneficial. And if we do make the determination that we no longer want to continue renting the info center, what that will mean is a couple of things. We will need to get a PO box for our mail. We will also need to establish rent, basically a storage unit for all of our various supplies, which we've looked that up before, and that looks like it would range from about $300 or $400 a month. And of course, it would not be within Merion Village because we do not have any storage facilities in Merion Village. So things to think about, but of course, that is a conversation we want to make sure people are aware of and that we can have. And as I said, we'll have this on the agenda for the next few months. So anyone have any comments or thoughts they'd like to share on that before we move on?
Are we on a month-to-month lease, or is there a term that we have to think about?
No, we do not have a formal lease. So
Aaron. I think from my understanding is we've kind of been grandfathered in for so long that there's no paperwork, which is another, that creates pros and cons, for us. So something we chat about once a year or so.
But since there is no formal lease, we do not have a deadline to say we have to know by, March or April if we're doing this because of renewal. So it's open-ended. That could always change. Our landlord is very elderly, and her daughter does manage the properties for her. But again, so far it's a good relationship. So at least until we hear otherwise, we don't have a set deadline.
Do you know approximately if you were going to rent a storage unit for all that stuff, how big of a one you would need?
So I priced them out on some of the local storage sites, and I basically kind of priced out. We have the entire basement is full. It's only a partial basement, but it is full. We've got multiple canopies. We've got a couple of wagons. I'd say we probably have about, 8 to 10 totes of things. about 50 chairs, 7 folding tables, and 4 huge, what are they, 4x4 like stage sections that Tom built for us for the festival. So
Yeah.
at a minimum, we would need a 10x10, and that would be if we packed everything in with absolutely no room to move around. So I think that it's from the site I looked at last year when we were having this conversation, it was like, I think the level 3 of their various offerings.
Now, if we didn't have a meeting space, we wouldn't need all of that equipment, theoretically. So, you would be potentially be able to downsize, but at best you'd say, maybe $100 off of the cost, at best or something.
And honestly, the only thing, because we used all of the tables and all of the chairs at the festival every year, and certainly could use them for other events, I think the only piece of equipment that I can think of offhand that we certainly wouldn't really have to continue to have is our rolling chair rack, but that only takes up so much room as opposed to all of the chairs and tables and platforms. So we would need, like I said, very minimum 10x10, but that would leave literally no room to move around. So it would have to be likely at least probably, I think 20x10 was what they offer.
How often are board members going and getting stuff, like dealing with the stuff and going, because if you're saying that you couldn't have one in Merion Village and it's farther away, but a burden potentially, particularly I said on the board members, if you have to get stuff all the time and so you've got to drive out and whatever. So if it's just like twice a year, if it's just before the festival and just before the garden show, fine. But if it's like a couple times a month, that's a different scenario.
So it depends a lot on events.
Yeah, but before COVID, I would say probably once a month or so.
At least, right.
Because you have, garden tour and festival and
yard sales.
What we had meetings and yard sales and then, that type of thing. So
T-shirt sales if people buy stuff from the store.
Yeah, checking the mail and stuff like that.
So yeah, before COVID, and that's kind of the other point, and Eric made this last time we had the conversation, is it's really hard for us to look at this objectively when we aren't in a situation still where we could be using the info center as much as we might like, where we could be advertising heavily for people to hold events there or, to have their committee meetings. And even though we've kind of had conversations over the last year through these meetings with members about potentially keeping our monthly meetings virtual so that they are more accessible for folks, there still are a lot of other things that might be held at the center. So it's very hard to have this conversation while we're still kind of in the midst of everything with COVID. But even with COVID, we did still have 2 yard sales this year, and we have to access the info center for the before and after with the signage on those. Obviously, all of the supplies that are needed for the garden tour, the festival, of course, that's certainly the biggest. And then if we have any other events where we just need some of our basic signage, or if someone places an order in the store and they want a t-shirt or a tote bag, then we access them there. And then of course the mail, we check that. Both Eric and I have the ability to check the mail, and that's just kind of, we don't get a ton of mail, but when we do, we obviously go down and check. So we would have to transition that to a PO box, which I assume would be hosted out of the location on Innis, since that's our closest postal office now, but I'm not personally very familiar with postal boxes, so I think that's just kind of a go and pick it up, I don't know, once a month or something. Yeah, I hope that answered it. I kind of rambled.
Well, the next time one of you does go to check the mail, since I'm now on the board but I've never actually visited this space, if you wanted to give me a heads up, I would be interested in just coming to see it, because then I feel like I'd have a more informed opinion about what this space actually is.
That makes sense.
I've observed its beauty from the outdoors.
If you have a spare 3 minutes, I'll be glad to give you the grand tour.
Yes,
Great.
The grand tour.
Yeah, the grand tour for a whopping 3 minutes. That's about as long as it takes.
Does that include the basement too?
Oh no, don't do that.
Yeah. Well, no, you have to get you have to understand how much stuff is in the basement to really appreciate it too.
We have, you've probably never attended one of our festivals, David, because I know you're kind of still new to the area, but we have, I think 6 or 7 canopies, 2 of which are like 10 by 15, so they're huge. like I said, we have like between 8 and 10 folding tables, tons of chairs. We have a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Anyone else have anything they just want to share or thoughts? We'll keep this conversation going, just to kind of assess what folks would like us to do. As Eric mentioned, we were fortunate to, when you're not counting the kind of 2020 carryover expenses, have a loss of less than $1,000 this year, which is really, I mean, really impressive when you consider no festival and no business memberships. I'm very pleased to see that. So yeah, I mean, we love having the space available for folks to use, but of course, past couple years, we haven't really been able to use it much, but you know, still a conversation we should have, so. Okay, all right, well, I'm just gonna move on from that, but we will continue to talk about this, and if anybody has any thoughts, if you think of anything, feel free to email us, and we'll incorporate that into the conversation as well. Let's go here to, let's talk about committee updates briefly. Couple of things. One, we are looking for a new beautification chair. The gentleman who was interested in doing that does own his own landscaping company, so he has gotten pretty busy and doesn't really have the time to commit to chairing the committee, but we would certainly love anyone who's interested in that to reach out to us, and we'll get you moving. Membership committee, kind of the same. We don't have a formal committee for that now. It's mostly just been the board trying to look at best ways to approach growing memberships, and we'll certainly continue to do that. Social committee, Lauren, do you want to jump in? I'm not sure if Mike's with you to touch on the upcoming.
I'm here.
Hello.
Hey guys, it's Mike. Yeah, we have the happy hour planned on the 20th, and we'll just have it at the Hey Hey. I think it's a great spot for it since there's plenty of room in there, you know, in case a lot of people show up, and it's a good bar otherwise if not a lot of people show up. So I believe they have kind of like home cooking now that I've seen on Facebook. I haven't had a chance to try it out yet, so I probably will be trying it that night. So that's in 2 weeks. And
Awesome.
you know, tell your neighbors and friends, and hopefully we have a good crowd.
Yeah, and we'll try to get some social media stuff up about that.
Did you say what time, Mike?
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking like 5:30, just after work.
Perfect. Okay, awesome.
So just in case people don't live in the neighborhood, 5:30 is very hard to get back home from work, feed your dogs, and get to the happy hour. So just FYI.
We know you'll be
Maybe
late, Eric.
6. Maybe 6.
I'll be there at 5:30 in case anyone comes early.
Okay, you go get it. Go save my seat.
I'll get it ready. Okay, and now we'll touch on zoning. I'll give the floor here to Lauren Cardoni, our zoning chair, to let us know about a change that's coming up with the zoning committee. So Lauren, go right ahead.
Hi, thanks, Jess. As far as the zoning committee goes, I've been the chair since summer of 2020, I think, is when I took it over from Tony.
2019, I think.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah, because we were still at the info center, so it was pre-COVID.
Oh, wow, okay.
Time flies.
So yeah, my husband and I are actually in the process of building a new house, and we'll be leaving Merion Village sometime in the spring. We don't have a final date yet, but I wanted to give the committee a heads up so that we can get someone new in as the chair, get them trained and up to speed on what all they have to do. There's really not much to it. So yeah, my position of chair will be open sometime in the coming months.
Well, congratulations on the house. Where are you building?
We will be out in Pickerington,
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay. Nice.
a little far away.
Yeah, it's a
exciting,
little
though.
bit too far to come back to like hang notices on people's door.
Yes, for sure.
Well, thank you so
Well,
much,
we
Lauren.
will
It's so
definitely miss
amazing.
you.
We will. We will.
Thanks. Yeah, we're gonna miss the neighborhood for sure. It's been nice here.
Building your house is so exciting, though. Like that's pretty. That's a pretty exciting thing. I'm sure it's stressful too, but also
Yeah.
exciting. So we're excited for you. So we will we'll send out a notice to the membership, let folks know that that position will be open. And of course, if folks are out and about and you talk to anyone and someone's interested, just email us, and we'd love to connect and get you connected with Lauren and see about filling that role.
Great. And then I did want to mention, since Bob had emailed us, Jess,
Yeah.
I think it was it 362 Stewart Avenue?
He just said it was in the 200 block of Stewart, I think. I don't think I had an address.
Let's see. I think I looked it up because I found there was a demolition permit pulled from the city of Columbus. Let's see.
Bob Lichty, former president of the MVA, reached out to us. That's what Lauren's talking about. I guess a home or structure was just demolished on Stewart recently, and people had some questions, and Lauren was trying to figure out what that might be.
Yeah, it was 262 Stewart, and it was one of the last reviews that Tony did before I took over.
Okay.
So I think that was a while ago. But so the property came through Merion Village and went through the Southside Area Commission for a couple of zoning variances and was approved. And it sounds like they have since started construction. It looks like they were planning to demolish both the primary structure and the garage in the rear and build a whole new house and garage. I'm trying to remember, I should have looked this up the other day. I feel like it was a little one-story house. It wasn't.
Yeah, I've got it pulled up. You're right.
Historically significant to the neighborhood. And so
It looks like it probably was, they split the lot and just built a quick, like, mother-in-law, or, you know, like it looks like it doesn't fit in with on either side or across the street. So it's like a one-story hip, nondescript, house.
yeah, so it sounds like they have started construction, and there was the demo was done recently. But the original plans and application for the zoning variance is all on the MVA committee website. I was able to Google it and find that. So if anyone's curious, it's there.
Thank you for looking that up, Lauren. I know we didn't have a ton of information to go off, but I was glad you were able to find that. Okay. All right. Well, I believe that's all we have for committees. We will move on. Aaron or Tom, I see you're both here. Would either of you like to give us updates from the Area Commission?
I don't have too much of an update. The last commission meeting, one of the things we did talk about is the open shelter, which is opening on Parsons. It's the big black building there just north of Whittier. And that will be providing lunches and services and, like a mailing address for people experiencing homelessness to help them address and move off the streets. So we also hosted a conversation of, there was some next door, as there usually is, I'll call it generously chatter about it. But we did try to host a conversation for anyone who had concerns about it. Everyone there was quite supportive, actually. So, it's coming, and we're looking to help support them in their efforts. If anyone has any questions about it, feel free to ask. Or I can.
Tom, was that the building that came in for a concept review with us, and they were going to put a gym in there for?
It is. That never, I guess, actually happened. I don't know if they never just built it out or they lost their funding or what happened with it. But we had approved the variances, so there is no variance request for it. It is, already within the accepted uses. So there's no variances that are associated or anything like that. They just wanted to come and say, hey, we're opening, and talk to communities, and they're happy to come to talk to MVA too if we have an interest.
Yeah, I think that'd be nice just to tell us about their mission and what they do.
I mean, it is in our border.
Mm-hmm.
Who's running? Who's the organization, Tom, that's managing the shelter?
Oh, give me a second. I've got their card. Hold on.
I don't know how to raise my hand anymore. Is it gone?
We've all
Lauren,
forgotten
it's
forgotten
9
how
of
to
us, so
use
don't.
Zoom, Allison.
Okay.
You know everybody.
Well, I
here,
wanted
so
to
don't worry.
follow the rules. So
That's a rule follow.
I wanted to make a comment about, so I am a huge supporter of pretty much everything, especially helping those underprivileged. One thing that I have heard recently, and if this doesn't affect me, so I didn't even know about it until recently, but like with the free market, those folks who are getting some of that produce are just dumping that on business owners' property. And so I've heard from a couple of business owners in that area that they're picking up so much nasty produce that's just been dumped and left. And so my concern with that place down the street there, because I did see them there lined up today. What are they offering? Are they offering stuff that's similar? Are we going to have more issues with people dumping stuff? And can we, just make a comment to them just to kind of help us keep an eye on that? Because one, that doesn't help with, just being a desirable area, but also, we have rat issues and mice issues and stuff like that. And so that's not going to help that issue. So maybe if we can just bring that to their attention. And I'm not saying that it's gonna happen there, but it's happened down the street at the fresh market. So if they're handing out food too, if we can at least make a comment about that.
So that topic was specifically discussed at the area commission meeting. And it wasn't just Open Shelter who was there. The representatives of the fresh market were also there to talk about that. And one of the new things that they're starting is a program to help pay some of the people who are coming to use the services to help clean up. So actually offering some job and payment to clean up the alley in the area every day as part of the fresh market.
Okay, so that's great. Wow. Thank you.
That's something that they're looking to do with the Open Shelter as well. Anyway, that was kind of some of the conversation that was had. Week or two ago.
Tom, will it, so whenever you find the card, maybe just put the name in the chat or something. Did they also, are they going to be spending the night? Is it an overnight shelter or just to come in for the day and then like we have resources available and then you leave?
Yeah, so it's open from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. So it is not an overnight or anything like that. The things that they'll be offering are like a hot meal at the facility, so not actually taking it away or anything. So it wouldn't have any of that waste that you're worried about, Allison, because it would actually be in the place.
Perfect.
They'll offer clothing, hygiene products, some kind of minor household supplies. It can serve as a mailing address, which is a really huge deal because you can't get a job or anything without a mailing address.
Right.
They offer ID and birth certificate services to help people who have lost their ID or need a new one.
Wow.
Bus passes, outreach and advocacy services to connect people up to other city services, and then payee services to help with debt or utility payments and phone, computer, and fax access as well.
Wow.
For job hunting.
That's kind of incredible. I mean, that's a wealth of services all in one space. That's actually really awesome to hear.
And only for homeless or for anyone that needs those resources?
I would say it's probably anyone who needs the resources. I mean, they're kind of focused on people experiencing homelessness, but I would say that, they're not going to turn people away if they're in need.
Yeah.
So their number is 614-222-2885, and I can put that in the chat. And then it doesn't necessarily have, it's just called the Open Shelter. That's their nonprofit agency.
Okay, that's the name of it. Okay. But it's not affiliated with Church of All People or religious organization or some other entity that we would have already been familiar with.
It's a separate entity.
Okay.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, Jess, that's a good idea that Tom had maybe, because I'm just envisioning the whole Mary Haven ordeal, but hopefully not as contentious, but we might want to just get in front of it, or because I hadn't even heard of it. I didn't know. I'd seen that building being worked on and was curious. I thought maybe that gym was finally going in.
I saw some chatter on Facebook, but no one has approached us about it specifically. So I think I don't know, Tom, if you guys had like a specific contact, but if there's someone that would be willing to come speak to folks even as early as our meeting in February, I think that'd be great, because it'd be an opportunity for them to share information about, everything that they're going to be doing. And it sounds like a lot. And then of course, if people do have questions or concerns and would like to present them respectfully, we could give a forum for that.
Yeah, I have their emails somewhere around in my inbox, so I'll forward it to you, Jess, and then can connect you up.
Perfect. Sounds great.
But you think about it, it's a good, like, we almost have a little bit of a desert, right? Because you've got Reeb all the way down on the south end, and then you've got, other resources closer, to downtown. Then a couple, so there's really not much in this kind of that area.
It definitely
our
can help fill a need,
area.
for sure.
And I'm sorry, so I'm looking also at Google Maps. I see where we're talking about like the fresh market and everything. Like I see that block. Where did you say the new thing was going to be in relation to that?
It's 1037 South Parsons.
Okay. So like a block or two down the street.
Yeah, it's nearby, but again, it's fairly unaffiliated and providing a little bit of a different set of services. The fresh market's very focused on the produce. You've got the Church for All People donation, for some clothing, but this is providing a lot of other things, particularly around those, ID services and mailing address and stuff like that.
Okay,
Well,
now I see it.
And I love that it's somebody other than Church for All People. Like, yes,
That's
They
why
already
I
do
asked
so
that.
much in this area that someone else is also coming in to help
right.
provide services.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
their point too is that they're specifically trying to supplement what's already here, not necessarily, duplicate some of the services that are already provided.
And the needs are unquestionably there. So
Right. And that mailing address and ID, those are huge pieces that are such a problem. I mean, I even see it with like emancipated youth and stuff like that. So that's a huge thing to be able to provide. Yeah, absolutely.
that it is exciting. I would love for them to come chat more, because I'd like to thank them for stepping in and doing this, and hopefully have folks see the positives, but have an opportunity to ask questions if they have them, because people could have questions and concerns, and let's just talk about it.
And there may be opportunities for us in the neighborhood to also support them as well, and so that would be great to hear some of those. Suggest maybe we can organize a day where the neighbors serve the lunch or whatever. So
awesome. Anything else from the commission?
I think that was probably the biggest thing that we had. I mean, that was probably half or more of the commission meeting was just those conversations. So I don't really have a whole lot more to add on that topic. Do be aware of the new council maps that are now voted in place. Erin, I don't know if you want to add anything more on that front, since I think you had written the letter and everything.
Sure. So they did announce that the area commission had been advocating for a map that wasn't approved, that kept all of the area commission's boundaries within a single district. And the map that was approved splits Merion Village in half between two different council districts. So it essentially has created a kind of, I'd say like urban core district that most of German Village and part of Merion Village are part of that. And so it's also got downtown and part of the Arena District, part of Italian Village and Victorian Village in it. And then the rest of Merion Village is with what I would call is kind of a South Side district. So it's kind of everything from, I want to say it's.
Does it at least follow the police precinct boundaries at least? Or are we now in like one neighborhood, two precincts, two council districts, two zip codes?
They're just trying to keep our minds fresh, okay? That's all.
It's pretty split up. So I don't think it follows the police precincts. I don't think it follows the area code, because it's, they just put census tracts in. So those are pretty small units anyway. So that's what happened with that. Those districts will, the election in 2023 is when those members in those districts will be elected. So next year, and all of city council will stand for election that year. And the way that it works is you will get to vote for all 9 seats in Columbus City Council, but you'll get to vote for one person from each district, even though you live in one district. So, and same thing for everyone else in the city. So everyone in the city will have a say on who's the central and the south side council person, just like you will have a say in who is the Clintonville commissioner.
I've never heard of that structure. Is that,
It's-
I'm assuming other cities have that. We can't be the only ones. That sounds like I wouldn't even know who to vote for Clintonville and what they need or who. That just seems silly.
It's pretty unique. Certainly, my familiarity is mostly within the state of Ohio, but even outside of Ohio, in general, you'll either have a system that's all at large, all ward-based, so you only vote for the person in your ward, or a combination in that you'll have a certain number of ward seats and then a certain number of at-large seats. And so, everyone votes for the at-large and then you vote for your ward person. Having this district-based at-large elections is
Weird.
very unique.
It's weird.
So you basically it's all at large with some complexities thrown in.
Yeah. So I guess the
You
argument
can't get
for it
9
is-
people from Clintonville.
Right. So I guess that's the argument, is that everybody gets to vote for every member and every member is serving every resident, but you're ensured that there's some geographical diversity across the city. It's still
fair.
an unusual system. I will keep my personal commentary out and just say it's unusual. It's very
You're so PC.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think the thing that could be said for it is just that, like Aaron said, it will ensure that there is geographical distribution of
Right.
the council members, even if it isn't a district or alderman style, elected position.
Interesting.
The other thing, just from the area commission, I wanted to let you guys know in case anyone is interested, is there is I think a pretty large project getting ready to go for zoning variances on Livingston Avenue at 459 Livingston. And there is a public meeting about it at Barrack Recreation Center this Saturday, the 8th at 11 a.m. if anyone is interested in hearing more about that.
Did you say that was a meeting at 459 East Livingston, or a meeting about 459 East Livingston?
Meeting about 459. The meeting is going to be at the Barrack Recreation Center.
Okay. Do you know about what, or is somebody coming in to try to develop that, or?
I will be honest, I did not read my emails on it very closely, so I don't know exactly what they're asking for, but I do believe they're looking to develop it. I think it's a multi-use, so I think it's going to have some retail, and I think with a restaurant, and then apartments, and some of the same types of variances for a lot of those kinds of things to allow first floor residential in a mixed use building, those kinds of things.
Do you know who the developer is, or is it too early for that?
Someone does, I just don't.
Okay. Thank you.
I just don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, some of that, Allison, is I don't think they've officially submitted anything yet. So it's not out on the citizen portal, because this is a first informational meeting before they submit.
Okay, just to kind of feel it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I feel like all that corridor is gonna all end up being that type of stuff. But all the the enterprise and Scrambler, like they're gonna get rid of all that to get multi-use, 3-4
Right.
story buildings.
Well, and you
So-
have all that children's stuff across the
Oh
street.
yeah, I mean that's
Right.
what's
So,
driving it.
yeah,
Absolutely.
right. And then it's not going to be out of place because you have those huge buildings.
Right.
Yeah, but
there.
once those start, then the ones behind them, it's like, well, then those aren't out of place because you have the ones right in front of them, and then
Well,
the
we
creep,
can
the creep.
say, this is on a main drag. You're
Livingston
busting-
is very different than Sheldon. So
Yeah, so it's the Shane's Catering parcel. Yeah.
Wasn't that like a dinner theater or something?
it was at one time.
Hmm. I always drive by it and look at it and be like, oh, I would have liked to go in there.
The
always meant to
sign
too,
looks
and never
really
did.
cool. The sign looks like something I would want to go sit in, but I've never been inside. Sorry, Aaron, go ahead.
No, I was saying the same thing. I was like, I always thought it would be fun to go do dinner theater there and never did. Too late now.
Right.
Should have gone when you had the chance.
Yep.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. But anyway, so that first informational meeting is this Saturday. That's the only other thing that I had.
Well, thank you both for your updates. Always appreciate you. Okay, I'm pretty sure there's nobody here that has attended a Block Watch meeting, so I don't think we will have any Block Watch updates this evening.
Did you see Dee's email about the case training that Vicky is going to be running?
Honestly, I didn't. I see.
Yeah,
I
They're hosting another of those whatever active shooter trainings, and looks like Vicky in the neighborhood is going to be facilitating it.
Yes, it's a civilian response to active shooter events.
Is that open to everyone or just?
It is, but they have with COVID protocols, they have a cap of 25, so they're asking folks to register.
Okay, we'll get some information about that and see if it's something we can share. I'm just looking at the email quickly. I'll have to see if they've got something like an online link or something to register to participate in that. So, okay, let's see here. Otherwise, we'll just kind of remind folks about some upcoming events. We mentioned the happy hour earlier, so that's Thursday, January 20th. Mike will be there at 5:30 at the Hey Hey, so show up and keep him company and tell a friend.
And wait until I get there at 6:30.
And then stay until Eric gets there because he's got to feed the dogs and
drive
get
home.
upset. Exactly, from very far away. Southside Area Commission meeting, fourth Tuesday, so that's going to be Tuesday, January 5th, 6:30, and you guys are at Barrick now, it looks like.
Yeah, until the library does extended hours, but that's kind of unclear when that's going to happen.
Okay.
Ideally, what we're going to do, so we have put it in our budget to purchase a video and microphone that we could actually, put up our commission meetings. That's the intent. But so the library has everything we need to do that.
Right.
The barrack doesn't really, as far as like hookups of everything. So when we return to the library, the intent is that it'll be in person and then you could watch it remotely. You just wouldn't be able to participate remotely.
Like you're planning to stream it live or just going to post it after the fact?
Probably stream it live and then it would be posted as well. I think it's going to depend on our audiovisual skills. So we'll see how it goes.
But that'll just essentially, if you choose to attend virtually, it's a spectator event at that point.
It's just too difficult to try
Yeah.
to incorporate.
Hybrid is not an easy thing to do.
But
Hey,
at least
Tom.
it would allow people to view it. So.
Yeah.
You know what else has extended hours though?
Hmm.
The info center, and it's free.
That's true.
That is true.
We will be the glad, banner sponsors of the area commission, free use of info center.
Sure.
The other thing I would note about hybrid meetings is that because we're a public body, we have to meet in person via sunshine laws after COVID emergency orders
Right.
expired. So, well, yes, we do have members of the public that sometimes participate, like they're not members of the commission, can't participate that way. So it really is just an in-person meeting that would be televised.
That's nice though. It gives folks a chance to stay just aware of what's happening, even if they aren't able to be there and participate. So that's a great idea.
That's the
Okay.
intent, but again, we'll let everyone know when we can move or when we can get that actually up and running. So
Awesome. Thank
It'd
you.
be like
Sounds great.
Southside Area Commission C-SPAN.
I mean, you're not that far off. Have you been to a commission meeting? I mean, it's a little dry. I mean,
Depends on what's on the docket.
And you can watch it. If you can watch it any time, then you can put it on right before you go to bed if you're having trouble sleeping.
Sleeping, yeah.
also,
There are-
it's a
there
little
are some
dry until
decent-
little times, but it's not. So,
There are some decent cameras, like tracking cameras that that aren't in too expensive. I have a list somewhere. If I find it, I can share it with you.
Sure. We have another chair for whatever communications committee who's handling it. So I think he's already priced some out, and he's got some relatively inexpensive ones, and we do get budget for the city. But that's
Okay.
not really so much the issue as like making sure it's compatible
Right,
with
and
the space.
sure, right, and a lot of those that would be on my list would be because they're more for like real estate education, stuff like that.
Sure.
Well, cool. I hope it works out. I certainly look forward to watching from afar if it does so. Okay, let's see here. What else do we have? Other events coming up, of course, is our next monthly meeting, which will be on Wednesday, February 2nd. Same place here on Zoom, and we'll start at 7 p.m. Hopefully, we may even have a speaker from the new open shelter. We'll see. We'll certainly let folks know if that's the case. And we'll, of course, continue some of the other conversations we've been having. We should have an announcement at that point about starting up the scholarship committee for the year, since we'll start looking at that soon, whether or not there will be a chili cook-off. And then actually, we're even getting close enough to when the yard sale will be held in May that we'll start talking about that soon, too. So the year will fly by. I'm going to open the floor. Obviously, since we're a small group, if anybody has anything they want to share or anything they want to bring up, just please feel free to do so before we adjourn.
So there may be a chili cook-off.
We're not sure. I mean, we don't know what things will look like in March, but we haven't fully ruled it out. At a minimum, we will do online fundraising for the scholarship. We'll continue to do that going forward because it has been very beneficial for the scholarship fund, and it's given folks an opportunity who maybe used to be in the area and aren't anymore a chance to donate as well, or just anyone for that matter. So we haven't fully ruled a chili cook-off out, but we aren't sure.
So maybe like March.
Yeah, thoughts or comforts if we did, folks' idea, if we did try to do something in
it would probably be March,
assuming things get better. Obviously, we're not doing it if it got worse, but assuming things got better, I don't know, does anybody have severe, allergic reactions to it, or?
I feel like if I can meet you there on the 20th, I can meet you there in March. So
yeah, right.
for it.
I mean, what's the difference?
I mean, that's essentially what we're wanting to make sure, folks. Maybe a small, we may not have, 20 chilies submitted like in prior years. Maybe it's 10. But.
And we may have some different ways of just making sure that, it's maybe folks aren't sharing the same serving utensils or just some extra steps to add, extra layers of precaution. But, if people are willing to show up and attend and participate, that's pretty much what we're looking for. And that will really inform whether or not that's something we do.
Could you build like one of those like plexiglass sneeze guards? I mean,
Well, we'll just give everybody the same face shield that they can wear when they go through it.
There
and then
you
just
go.
give it to the next person to wear when they go through it.
Yeah.
Everybody will put on gloves before they go down the line.
So,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think what will probably happen is we'll certainly talk about it as a board. We'll chat with the folks at Hey Hey, since they have been our hosts in recent years. And then at next month's monthly meeting, I at least I feel like we should be in a position of being able to kind of make a decision with folks as to whether or not we're going to go forward with that in March. And again, part of that will be, the scholarship committee getting reestablished and getting going and letting us know their thoughts and how we can, make something work for everyone. So.
Cool. Well, from what I hear, everybody's going to get it at some point. So I guess March is not a bad time to get it. It's before my busy season, so I could probably work from my bed for a week and a half.
If I'm going to get it, I'll take it I'd rather get it from something fun like the chili cook-off than like going to Kroger.
Right. Some rando spitting on your lip.
Yeah. I at least want one of you guys to spit in my chili.
Yeah.
Disclaimer, there will be no spit in the chili.
And then I did, not to change gears too much, but I put the open shelter info in the chat there, so everyone should be able to have it. And then Jess, I did look, I do not have their email.
Okay.
But if you call that number during their operating hours, you should be able to get them.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. All right, anything else anybody wants to share before we wrap up for the evening?
I will say one thing that's on my mind here. I had one of my friends and clients ask about tree lighting dealio at the Walker Park, which I thought would be something fun if we could figure something out for that for next year, whether they're solar lights or whatever. Have a little ceremony. They do that like in Frank Fetch and a couple places in German Village. So she commented on something of mine saying, not that you have things to do or anything, but I'd love to take my children to a tree lighting ceremony in the neighborhood.
That would be so cool.
So that, just a little early, if people can kind of kick around ideas and stuff like that, and figured.
Oh, we could do some caroling around the tree.
Yeah.
Maybe
People
have
have mentioned
Santa for
caroling
the
a lot.
kids and
Yeah, right. And we have a Santa in the neighborhood.
We do. That's true.
Kurt Wheeler.
oh my gosh, let's get on
pieces are
this.
there.
I love this idea.
Yeah, me too. And we could work it into story time. Story time would be over by that point, but we could still read a little book or something.
Or 'Twas the Night Before Christmas.
There you go.
Something, yeah.
So Allison, story time coming back again this year?
Yeah, we will. We had a good year of story time, a lot of positive feedback, very simple. I even forgot once and it still carried on. So we have
there were 3 kids when I read.
Yeah, and sometimes it did get a little low, but they still love coming out. And so even if we only had one family, it was still good. And the kids are running around and pulling the plants out of the ground, but nobody cares, it's just fun, right? And the parents are just like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for doing this. It gives us something to look forward to and get out of the house. And it's just super relaxed. So awesome. I have a lot of videos, some of the sessions on video. So my hope is to get those on the page throughout the winter to still have some reading stuff.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, if you have, I don't know if you are going to do your own YouTube for that or not, but we do have a Merion Village YouTube channel where we've been posting stuff for the last couple of years. So we would certainly love to put them on there as well.
Yeah, that's why I did it. Yeah, I'm not putting them on my own. Okay. But yeah, I hope I can find some time in the next month or so.
So what month do you think you'll start back up?
If you have COVID, you'll have 2 weeks of quarantine to do it.
Well, but I don't know if my people will let my office is in a different room. I don't know if they'll let me come over here.
Oh. Hey, are you gonna because you're out of grant money? Are you gonna do another grant?
Well, I wanted to because I really want to get that fence replaced.
Mm-hmm.
I just haven't had the time to look at it, and I know I had several on my list from last year. But what we've done in the past is like I'll kick in a little bit of money, and then we get some money from Nationwide Children's. We get a little bit of money there. We have a little bit left over from last year. So it can really operate on very little. And I have a neighbor from Hungarian Village who really enjoys coming over and doing some stuff. So that's awesome. But yeah, my goal is to get that fence replaced. So I would probably need to fill out a grant for that. And there's like a Home Depot grant, and I think I missed the Growing to Green or whatever that was, but I'll need to look again at that. But if anybody hears of anything, just send it my way.
Sounds good. So what month do you think story time starts? Is it like a March, April thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
probably April, like
Cool.
after Easter.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else?
I did forget to mention, one or two of the fitness teachers from the summer reached out to me already asking if they could do something in the spring. So
Oh, cool.
it may work.
Yoga in the park is a very popular thing, I'm finding. People love it.
Yeah, even if we bring the festival back, I think we should keep yoga in the park, even if it's once a month or
I agree.
First Saturday of the month or something. That's
It's
been huge.
consistently popular. Like I don't think we've had a situation yet, except maybe the ones on Thursday evening, just because maybe folks were still coming back from work and it was a little earlier. But I don't think we've had a yoga in the park that was poorly attended. So folks are fan.
Yeah, so I'll chat with them and see when they might want to start that, but it's going to be weather dependent, obviously. I wouldn't think it's probably till April or May. One of the guys that did it last year has actually moved to the neighborhood, so
cool.
Interested in doing more.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's fan. Well, I'm glad that not only that folks who are attending have enjoyed it so much, but that the trainers have continued to want to be involved and offer that. So that's great. I love it. Okay. All right. Anyone else before we adjourn? Okay. I think that's it then. Everybody, again, Happy New Year. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. Hope to see you next month. And if you haven't renewed your membership, remember to jump on the website and get that done. Bye, guys.
That's good. Bye, everybody. Good night.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.